All right, geometry. We're looking at chapter 5, section 2. This is going to be congruent polygons, anything from triangles and above. And one thing we need to understand about having congruency is that we need all of the corresponding parts to be congruent. That includes angles and sides. So what am I talking about corresponding parts? Well, let's say we have these two triangles right here. And I'm going to go ahead and clone this one so I know it is exactly congruent. That way my lesson is accurate. And let's say I do that. And I'm going to label these A, B, C. And then I'm going to go D, E, E, there we go, and F. Now, if I were to tell you that triangle ABC was congruent to triangle DEF, then that means the order that I list those are very important, which tells me that angle A corresponds to angle D because they are in the first position when it's labeled. So that means angle A is congruent to angle D. Angle E is congruent to angle B, and you can see I have already messed up that labeling, haven't I? So this should have been, I had it right when I was drawing it the first time, and I didn't even know it. There we go. That's the way it should be. And so angle B, which is our smaller angle of the two that's left, because it's obviously not 90 degrees, is congruent to angle E. Now, we want to put 2 marks on there to signify that they are different than A and D. And then obviously F is congruent. I'm not going to put the 90-degree angle marks on there. I'm just going to show that they are congruent. This is the third angle. So we are looking at 3 of the congruent arcs. That also works for sides as well. The first 2 letters in the ABC triangle are obviously A and B, which makes them congruent to D and E. So this side is congruent to this side. BC is congruent to EF. BC congruent to EF, which leaves our small sides remaining, which is CA and FD. So again, order is important when they are listing corresponding sides and angles. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. You can go ahead and hit pause and get that copied in there. This is actually example 2 on page 217 of your textbook. We're going to be looking for 2 things. We're going to look to solve for X, and we're going to look to solve for Y. It is important that they did give us that DEFG is congruent to SPQR. And so D and S are the same. So S is going to be 102. I'm just going to fill in things that I know. E and P are the same. So those are unknowns right now. We'll know those here in a minute. F and Q are the same. So F is 68. Q is 68. And then G and R are the same thing. So G is 84 and R is 84. Now we can find out what E is. We can take all of those 3 angles that we know, add them up and subtract them from 360. So let me do that real quick. We've got 102, 84, 68. That gives me a total of 254. And when I subtract that from 360, that's 106. So this is 106, and P is 106. Okay, so what side does QR correspond to? That's going to be FG. And so if FG is 12, then 12 equals 2x plus 4, or I'm going to put, 2x minus 4. I'm going to put 2x minus 4 is equal to 12, and I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Here's our good friend algebra that some of you guys have been missing. Good friends for so long, divide by 2, and that gives me an x value of 8. Now, that's going to help me find angle Q because I know that angle Q equals 68 degrees. So if I take 6y plus my x value, which I just found is 8, and set that equal to 68 degrees, there's my good friend algebra again. We're going to subtract that from there. We get 6y equals 60. I'll scroll this down just a little bit. Divide both sides by 6, and y equals 10. So for our solutions, x equals 8, y equals 10. Again, looking at corresponding parts of congruent shapes, congruent polygons, and that's chapter 5, section 2.